when you get to bottom, really dig the chin into the chest. And when you reach up, try and pull the elbows towards each other. That'll really straighten the arms. The hands up and out. Loose fists and a few turning. And opening the hands and turning the head. So look into the palm and then extend with your gaze along the fingers and indefinitely out. So sort of using the eyes to direct the energy down the arm through the fingers and out. And then the hands up. And down into prayer. And then clasping them behind the back. Pinching the shoulder blades together, straightening the arms and pulling the head back, so looking up. And then rolling the head and changing direction each time we get to the top. So rolling the head down and then back up the other side and then change direction. And then just wind the head down. And then clasping the elbows behind the back. And leaning forwards. Slowly releasing the muscles in the back to let yourself down, and then slowly tightening them again to pull yourself up. That's what we mean by squeeze. We sort of slowly kick them in, and then to the left, over the left knee. And squeeze. And then the right knee. And up. And then repeating those, but going down all the way as far as you can. Lead with the chin to keep the spine stretching, and then just let the head go. And squeezing to come up. And left knee. And squeezing to come up. And then the right knee. Squeeze it up. And then the hands round to prayer again. And now a little bit with the stick. Let's just move the head, so just looking up. And then looking down. So using this action in the neck just to help the spine lengthen and straighten. Then bringing the stick up to behind the neck. And just think of the thymus thrusting upwards. Stop the stick from pulling your head forwards. And then just a few turning. And then some tipping. Imagine something rolling down the stick. And the stick above the head. And dropping it down. And then holding the stick in the middle and just pulling and pushing. And then push the hands towards each other. And then pulling. And then pushing. We're just using the stick to help us generate gravity and levity. So if we pull again, so just it's so gentle, but there's a lifting inside. That's what we're looking for. Rising all the way to the top of the head and beyond. And then when we push the hands together, again, so gently, it just drops, sinks. And we just keep the pressure on until it's got all the way down to the down chin and beyond. And then just put the stick down, but close by. And now those shoulder ones. So it's bringing the arm across the body and the other arm up. So it has to be the shoulder side of the upper arm, so close to the elbow, but so that you can really get some pressure on. Just keep the arm relaxed. If your hand is floppy, then the arm will be relaxed. And just breathing into that shoulder joint. Each time you breathe out, you just imagine it opening and smiling. And then the other side. And then that yoga one. But like you're going to do the same thing, but you just wrap the hands over and hold the hands. So you can work the hand that's inside down, or the other way even. And then releasing. And the other side. And now one hand up the spine towards the neck and the other hand over the top, holding the fingers with each hand. And the other side. So if it's difficult, you can just use the stick. I'll see if I can do it. And then releasing. And back to prayer. And now let's try reaching one hand at a time. So forwards to start with. It's going to be slightly different. So just reach forwards and then pull in, reaching with the other hand, but let the hand that's pulling in slip behind you as though it's passing something into the arm that's reaching. So normally when we're doing something with the arms, the action is very much in front of the body. So what we're wanting to do here is include my body. If you like, so it's like the bottom of the figure of eight includes me or part of me. So when we're standing, it can include the foot. And the top part of the figure of eight, that's the part, that's your energy reaching out towards the other person. So the obvious figure of eight when you're pushing hands is the top of your figure of eight, including sort of lassoing the other person, and the bottom of the figure of eight slipping around your back. And it's changing direction every time you swap from one hand to the other. And what interests me about it is that it has a feeling of going the other way around the figure of eight, because when we do our figures of eights, we only ever go the one way. So here, the hand that's coming in is doing its normal figure of eight like this, but as it slips behind, it's getting this hand to do this figure of eight. That's the feeling. And then reaching up with it, but it's exactly the same thing. Just letting the hand slip behind. And then a few to the side. And again, the hand that comes in goes behind you. And then just let it become the strong twist, which it sort of is anyway, but bring one hand, the reaching hand down onto the knee, and then just breathing yourself round. And then slowly releasing out of it. And the other side. So you get pressure on with the arm, so pulling at the knee to get yourself round. But the way you use the breath is as you breathe in, you sort of push against that resistance. So you're trying, as you breathe in, you're trying to turn back to the front, but your arm that's holding the knee won't let you go. But you feel that pressure, you push into, and then when you breathe out, you just release that, and then you'll get round a little bit further. So you tense on the in-breath, and then you can relax even more on the out-breath. This is the idea. Ooh. And then release slowly to come out. And then the hands up and out again. One hand over and turning the head. So effectively, we're figure eighting with the hands. And then just gradually let the hands come in towards each other. So the figures of eights get bigger. So now feel the bottom of the figure eight scooping under and behind you. We're just trying to include ourselves within the bottom of the figure of eight. And then the top of the figure of eight can just tip forwards and reach towards the outside, the other person. and then reduce the figures of eights until they're very much centered in the heart. And now you can feel the bottom of the figure eight sort of scooping into your armpit and round the back, even coming out under the other armpit. And then let it squeeze down into the belly where it opens up again. And now the bottom of the figure eight scooping into the groin and sort of around the sacrum, then out the other side. We just want to feel the figure eight not simply as a shape, a trace that we make, but like a device for connecting us with the other. So each of the dantians is likened to a cauldron where there's like a cooking going on. So you're exercising to transform one energy into another. So in this lower dantian, the belly, this is what they say here, this cauldron is transforming or transmuting or transducing Jing essence into Qi. And then let it squeeze back up into the heart and where it opens out. Now, this cauldron is transforming Qi into Shen, into spirit. And then let it squeeze up as though it's squeezing up the throat into the head space where it opens out again. Bottom of the figure of eight, scooping into the jaw and around the back of the neck and out of the other side. And this cauldron is transforming spirit, Shen, into nothingness, Wu Wei. The wonderful thing about the human mind really is the imagination. You know, we can just hear those words, hear those concepts and it sparks all of this imagery. Just the word cauldron, instantly brings to mind witches, Macbeth, Harry Potter. And that's the sort of richness that we want to sort of sink into. Like Ty's cousin who lives around the corner, I think he's, what's he, 13, 14. He's read all the Harry Potter books more than once, but he's never watched any of the movies. And I asked him why. And he said, because it'll just ruin the way I see the books. And I thought, well, yeah. And now just bring the hands into prayer, but opposite the forehead. Just feel it, the hands splitting the eyes. So now your left eye can only see to the left and your right eye can only see to the right. And then just breathing this head space, but letting the eyes really pull the peripheral vision. So keep the eyes ahead. They're not looking at anything, but they're fixed. And just see these two hands with your peripheral vision. Yeah, so once they get out a certain way, the hand can only be seen by one of the eyes. Or just see if you can sense that. So we just want to split the eyes. So even when when they're both looking at something, I'm feeling differently with each eye. And then bring the hands back in again to that point between the eyes. And then just let the hands come down to the heart. And now breathing again, but heart and belly. So as you breathe in, just let it all swell here. So it's not just opening at the chest, the back is swelling as well. And then as you breathe out, that shrinks back and then finally pull the tummy in to get all the air out and then let that relax. Air will come in and then really breathe into the upper chest and out. So you're just getting a lot of air coming out and a lot of air coming in and just trying to lengthen it. Those meditation masses, like one breath lasts a minute. I was just reading something on meditation, and she said in the book, breathe, breathe slowly, breathe in, breathe out. And then when you breathe out, just pause, just wait until you feel the need for the next breath. And now just bringing the hands up to prayer. And then slipping down again into our meditation mudra. And now just a bit more for the peripheral vision. So the way we normally do it, but start with one hand down here and one hand up here. So just bring the hand up. You want them both just about in your field of vision. The top one is difficult because you can obviously see the arm here. So just focus on the hand and just get the hand high enough so you can just about see it. And then just move them round, but very slowly. Just try to keep them on the rim. Yeah, so even though your eyes are fixed on a point in front of you, you can see all of this whole range within your peripheral vision. So you can have your attention on each hand, and yet your eyes aren't moving. So it's much more like the listening, where when you're listening, you're sort of listening 360 degrees. And now just let the top hand just drop down on top of the head and pull out the thread, pull up the thread. And then they both start moving again. So you lose the top hand, but you obviously know where it is. Like, as though I'm pulling a nerve up my spine and out of the top of my head. And then just bring the arms until they're both out to the side at the same level. But you can still, they're still in your peripheral vision, but just. And then just move them like this. So one up, one down. And your attention is with each one of them. But you can only see the right hand with the right peripheral vision. So there's something quite natural about this. It's like as you look up with one eye, with your peripheral vision, you tend to look down with the other. So this is how the peripheral vision works. And then just bring the hands back. Okay, and now you might not be able to do this, but close one eye. I'm going to close my right eye. So I have to contort my face slightly. And then just bring up the right hand. So you can't see it because the right eye is closed. But now just bring the hand in until you can see it, but with the inside peripheral vision of the left eye. And just hold that point. Yeah, so just move the hand a bit to get a sense of that part of your vision, which we don't normally register because the other eye sees it so much better. But the eye's not moving. The eye's still just looking at the point, but it's not interested in what it's looking at. It's only interested in what peripheral vision is registering. And then just let that hand drop. Open the eyes. Now, if you can, close the other one and then lift that hand up. If you've got an eye patch, it helps. And just strange. And then just open the eyes, bring the hands together. And there. This is when we need to do the palming, isn't it? So let's just try. Let's just rub the hands. And palming. Trying to create black, black, black. A darkness that you don't normally experience. And then the hands up and out and down. And now 6 quick blinks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 6 longer, strong blinks. And really squeezing the eyes. And then open them strong. Squeeze them close. Open. Closed. Open. Closed. Open. Closed. Open. And one more. Closed. And open. And then just relax. And then a little bit in the butterfly. And then kneeling. And then down to fetus from prayer up and down. So bracing the feet a little, sitting down between them. And then you can either lean back or go back down into the fetus. Just be careful. And then up and just lying down a little bit. So first, just trying to activate the hamstrings. So push the heel of your left foot into the ground strongly to tighten the back of the upper leg. Kick in the hamstring. And then just let it go completely floppy. And then the other leg, push the heel down. And then let it go floppy. And again with the left leg, push it down like you're trying to just bend the knee and push the heel right down into the ground. And then release. And then the other one. And release. And then the knees up, holding them with the hands and pulling them apart and pulling them towards your shoulders or out. And then just cycling. Feel the sacrum on the mat, sort of rocking from side to side a bit. Okay, let's start with the bouncing. So first of all, just get the feet in the right position. So the big toes angled in a little bit, but the little toes angled out. So the feet splay as strongly as you can get them splaying, and then bouncing. So aiming for this whole area, the hip groin area, to open up, especially here and around the sacrum. Remember, what we're trying to do is just split the two sides of the body. So even though we're both doing both sides together, there's a sense of bouncing from leg to leg, even when the arms aren't alternating. And then let the arms alternate, and then you really get that feeling of one leg throwing you into the other one. Yes, it's all we're trying to do, really. I mean, all of this work just boils down to just one thing. We're just trying to turn off autopilot. So we have to be attentive, otherwise the whole system will fail. So when you look at that, you can see, that your whole day is just you trying to turn on autopilot all the time so that you can think to yourself. And now just extend the feet a little. So one goes out. And then the other one. And then just wind it down until we're in the middle. That's now just very much with a sense of the two legs separate but cooperating. So yin and yang unite when the mind stops. So the unification is not a merging, it's just a cooperating togetherness. And then just first, let's just bring the hands onto the hips and the sacrum. So just feel it. As soon as you touch that part of your body, you're just so much more aware of it as a reality rather than just something that's got an image in your mind. And imagine just how much more real it would feel if someone else had their hands here. And then just let the hands drop down and float up the front. Feel that is just letting your upper back lean back a little bit to balance the weight of the arms out front. Now with the tree. So this sense of sinking down the body and extending into the ground like a big root system. And this sense of something rising up through me and extending out in this big branch and leaf system. So the bigger the tree is, the more stable it is, the more nutrients it takes from the ground, and the more sunlight it collects. And then the more tree it can produce. So the tree is extensive. It's like long energy. It spreads out. And then I just come off the heels and sink. Yeah, so even though my heels are coming up, my knees are bending. I'm going down. And the sense that I'm contracting physically into this Dantian center. But my senses are really peaking and reaching out. So I've got all these probes, like these nerves, swinging around out of my body. And yet physically, I've just shrunk to almost nothing. So now I'm intensive. And now heels down, but one at a time, but really wait. And as soon as it goes down, just feel, ooh, all of that high-pitched nervous energy gets sucked out of you. And then this one goes down. But as this one goes down, this one comes up. So I always contain the tree and I always contain the animal. And here we're just letting them appear in other different sides of the body, two different sides of the body. So heel down, heel up. and just figure of eighting around your feet. Yeah, so here it's difficult because we have to split our attention between the tree and the animal, or the weighted side and the empty side. When we're moving slowly and deliberately, we tend to be with the weight. If we were moving really quick, if we were running at top speed, we wouldn't be aware of our weight. Our mind would be totally with the energy, the spirit of escape. So I'm here, but I'm equally here. And then just back into riding horse. Again, hands here just to help it swing into the right position. So we just need a bit of courage to face the pain of this sacrum and hips just sinking down into the legs. But the presence of the hands helps that. And then up. And now we just want to move from leg to leg as we do, but slightly different. So just using one leg to move you. The other leg obviously has to be used to support you. So let's use the left leg. So just come into the left leg and then just push with the left leg until the leg is straight. And then bend the left leg to pull you back. So I'm straightening the leg to push my weight out of it. And then I'm bending the leg to pull me back into it. And we just want to stay down. So we don't want the straightening to bring the body up too much. You just imagine someone's hands are on your shoulders and just a little bit of added weight. And that just reminds you that you have to stay down. And then when we pull with the leg, we want to stay here as long as we can so that this part here in the groin gets sort of pulled open before the body starts moving. So pulling. And then pushing. And then just bring your mind to the weight, the strength that is basically countering the weight. So as I bring my weight into this leg by pulling, that pull is pulling me into the leg, but it's also pulling strength up from the ground so that I can be supported once my weight is in it. That's the feeling. So it's like I'm sucking something up the leg all the way to here. And then my weight can just settle upon that leg. And then when I push with the leg, it's as though that strength just recedes, it just sinks back into the ground. And then I pull, pulling the strength up. And then pushing, and the strength just flows back down the leg. And I just want to push far enough so that this is just basically loose. all the strength has drained out of it. And then I pull. And now here, I just want to really settle here so that this leg is now the loose one. And then I push back out. And now let's try a bit with the other leg. Same thing. So now the right leg. So the right leg pulling. It's bringing my weight across, but it's also bringing the strength up. And then I can just settle here once I've got the weight in the leg. And then trying to stay down, just push with this leg to push yourself back until this one is the loose one. Pulling, this is stretching open. And pushing. As we pull with the leg, we're pulling the energy up from the ground, the strength. But feel it like it's something that's flowing up the instep and up the inside of the leg, up the inside of the thigh, and then over the top here, and then into the sacrum. So I'm pulling with the leg, and because I'm sending my knee out, it's helping the instep strengthen, and that will suck energy up the inside of the leg. And then as I settle into the leg, it's like it all comes up here and into the sacrum. And then when I push with the leg, I have to make sure I'm pushing with like the outside of the leg and the outside of the foot. So something here spreads. And then when I push, it's like it's flowing down the outside of the leg and down the outside edge of the foot and into the ground. So when I pull, the strength is coming up the inside and then over the leg and into the sacrum. And then when I push, it just comes out of the sacrum, down the outside of the leg and the outside edge. So fortunately, we can use the hand to help feel the energy. Ooh. Up the inside, over the top, into the sacrum, and then from the sacrum down the outside. And now just keep it going. So feel the strength. So now we're just going to use both legs. So now the feeling is that you've drawn the strength up this leg, and then it just flows down. Something flows down this leg, and then this is drawing something up, and that flows down. So one is filling up and the other one is emptying, and it just gives the feeling that something has been passed across Like you're taking something from this hand and then letting it roll down this leg. And then just get the same thing, but now just get it taking that pathway. So as I come into this leg, it's coming up the inside, up here, over to the sacrum, and then just take it with the other hand and bring it down the outside of this leg, and then up the inside of this leg. So you make the switch behind yourself. And just let it turn you. So you have to go slowly because it's so damn complicated. Just feel how different it feels when your imagery contains you. It's not something, they're not pictures that you're creating in front of yourself. Now I'm actually within the picture. And now just using it. And now instead of just getting the energy flowing like this in the legs, we want to get it to come up into the upper body. So it's the same thing here. I'm bringing the energy up and then I pass it into the sacrum. And now I just use this leg to push and I use my back to arch a little bit like this to get the energy to come up into the opposite hand. And then I pull the ground here. So drawing the energy up around into the sacrum. And then I'm using the leg and the back. So like this to get something up into this hand. So straightening the front leg. It feels like you're straightening the front leg to get the hips round here, but really you're just straightening it to get the energy to come up into the back hand from the front foot. It just feels like you're trying to keep the spine in the middle. So as you can complete the turn, you really have to push with that front leg to stop your spine moving too much towards that foot. Ooh. We're really turning. Ooh. And just feel how important that front foot is to get the turn, to extend the turn further than you're used to. And now just relax it. And now just turn like the first warm-up exercise. But it's that. So the hand that goes behind is scooping energy from the ground, bringing it up the leg and passing it into the opposite hand. So energetically, it makes sense. And just feel the change in direction. It's like reaching the hand up with the apple, clutching it, and then taking the hand the other way to pull the apple down. So I'm turning this way, and then here something really has to catch at the ground. Otherwise, because when you pull with the leg, it's not terribly strong. So there needs to be almost a violence to that sudden change. Pull, pull. Okay. And now let's try the back foot. So lifting hands effectively. Now sinking into the back foot, but using the back front leg to really drive you down so that the back leg has to push. And we just let that push come and fill the front hand. And then I turn these toes around, and that's the catch, that's the pull. And then I drive myself back at the same time that I'm trying to push forward with the back leg. So my front leg is just not allowing the body to be moved. So that oomph from the back leg comes up into this hand. And now catching the ground here. And then just try and keep this knee out. Yeah. So the pressure of the front leg pushing you back is really opening here, almost like your buttock is going backwards, but not the knee. If the knee comes in, then it doesn't feel good. So pulling around here, and then, so maybe you can't get around very far, but it's, the back knee is important because that's the weighted leg. Pull, and whoa. And just imagine that person, the other person, just leaning on your front hand. They're just giving you some weight. So I need the right angle to be able to channel that down into the ground. So don't be afraid to lean forwards. Just remember Yong Cheng Fu when he did lifting hands. You can see what he was doing now. He was using his two legs against each other. So he had even more than his 300 pounds pushing into his back leg. Okay. And now let's just try going backwards and forwards, but it's all the same. So I'm pulling the energy up. So here you can really feel it coming up the inside, over the top, into the sacrum, where it rises up the other side of the body and into this hand. So let the yielding hand slip behind you. And then a bit with the other foot forwards. So up the inside of the leg, over the top here, down into the sacrum, and as though you're passing the energy into this side. And then scooping up the inside of the back leg, over the thigh, sacrum, and then pushing here. Okay. And now let's try this one. So let the bottom of the figure of eight include you. You can either think of it slipping around the back, coming out here, and then rejoining the figure of eight, or you can just get it to go down under the foot, into the heel here. At the bottom of the figure of eight, it's like it's anchoring onto me so that the top of the figure of eight can lasso out and catch the other person. Got a friend here whose 13-year-old son wants to be a cowboy when he grows up. And he's got a collection of Stetsons, large knives, and lassos. And it's interesting because they're stiff, they're in a circle all the time. It's not like rope. So it's actually easy just to throw it out and let it land over something. He practices on his twin sister, much to her annoyance. So this exercise is so rich. So much has come out of it. So the tree and the animal came out of this. So you can do it with the heels never actually going down. Try doing a form like that. It's great. Okay. And now kicking. So drawing the energy up the leg, the strength. Well, it'll come anyway because you're going to hold yourself up with the leg. But we just want to feel everything as flows. So I feel something flowing up the leg across here. And then I just let it whip down this leg. And the leg kicks out the foot. So here I'm pulling up. So again, it's coming up the inside, over the top, and then just continues down this leg. We just want to feel it as one thing. So just mind continuous, really, always trying to find ways of connecting things. Because, when we learn Tai Chi, it's very much by the numbers, everything's separate. And then with practice, you learn to get energy flowing through the form. And that's just a continuity. But unless you're going quickly, it's difficult to get the steps. Continuous always tends to be a stop and start as you lift the foot up and put it down. So here we just try to get, even if it looks like it's stopping, the mind is still continuous. And so the energy is. Ooh, and out. Oh. And now, same thing, but instead of kicking, stepping. It's basically the same. Basically, a step is a kick that hasn't gone up very high. So I'm just pulling myself into this leg, drawing the energy up the leg, and then I just let it go. Ooh. Yeah, so I have to put the foot toe. This is very much sort of toes down first. So, ooh, like you're testing the water whether it's too hot. I mean, you wouldn't stick your whole hand in just in case. You'd just test it with a tip of a finger. It's the same thing here. So my big toe tests the water, and then I pull myself into the leg, which is pulling the energy up, which I then just release down the other leg, and that's the step. Just really watching it. So a mind conducive to energy. Most people's minds, that's the last thing they are, which is why they never experience energy. So just imagine the sort of mind that doesn't just allow energy, it encourages it. So it has to be quiet, it has to be clear, uncluttered, but there needs to be this buzz of anticipation and almost excitement. And just try and get the hand that comes up with the energy to slip behind you. It's like you're sort of pushing your bum in all the time. That's the feeling. And it just means that the lower back is really working. So if I want energy to come up, then I just tighten the muscles in my lower back and it will drive my foot down and lift this upwards. So it's all lower back really. Wow. Pulling forwards, and now I just tighten here and comes up into the hand. You'll be like one of those rock climbers that they're constantly dipping their free hand into the bag of chalk on their back. Okay. So now let's just, so lifting the leg, but sort of leaning across. Just feeling the two sides of the sacrum. One side becomes heavy and full, and the other side becomes almost weightless. So there's a sense that this knee comes up because that side of the body is as emptied. And then again, pulling yourself into the legs, which is also pulling the strength up to the sacrum so that you can support yourself with it. And then this is just empty. It's got potential. It can sort of whip out. Yeah, so just trying to get over the weight of the leg. When you put your hand out to take something, you're not aware of the weight of the arm because you're so used to it. These muscles have got so well developed, whereas the leg is useless. It doesn't take long before this leg just wants to go down because these muscles are getting tired. Just want to develop a mind or just help it be light. We, almost like I'm talking to it, saying, come on, come on, come on. And now just lifting the knee and stretching it. So trying to pull it up. So feel as you're lifting the knee, it's sort of cranking you down into the weighted leg because your lower back is straightening and stretching. And then pulling yourself into the leg. And now pulling the foot up behind. So stretching the front of the thigh, the quad. So try and extend the knee downwards and just try and pull the heel into your buttock. And then the other one. Ooh. And then just pulling this foot up into the sort of heels in the groin. And now let's finish. So let's just try the tree again. So hands on the sacrum. And so the tree is connecting to the earth and connecting to the sky. And both of those are terribly reliable. And so it can just take its time and just relax into that. But the animal has spirit. It has to move around, and normally quite quickly. So it's completely different than the tree. It's very much operating from some central place, and like it's sending out probes, like little scouts are being sent out, and then it's its spirit, and then it dashes. And then heels down, but really wait. Ooh, and then ooh, and just how little weight you need to put in the heel for it to actually earth you. I don't need to plonk my weight. I can just place it down and just feel it spreading over the ground. So I can keep most of my weight in the front of the foot and still have this sense of rooting. If I just put my weight into the foot, it's almost like the ground just becomes a hard surface upon which I'm resting. If I put the heel down really gently, I can get a sense that I'm extending like a needle, the hypodermic, into the ground. And again, that's sort of just the tail going out a little bit. And then you just write it. And now you have this really sort of delicate but deep connection through your heels rather than just having plonked on the surface. And then bringing the feet up, but don't straighten the legs and don't put the heels down. So you're off the heels. So the way of walking that we did, you're drawing the energy up the leg that's got the weight coming in and sending it down the foot that's going out to step. You can practice that when you're walking. And then walking actually becomes interesting. And it is amazing. You realize that everything that we do, we we do meanly. It's like, as soon as I engage in walking to the train station or whatever, it's like my mind goes into, oh, I'm going to the train station, and my mind starts thinking to itself. And so it's almost like I push the ground away from me so it can't affect me, so that this can stay closed off. And as soon as I start thinking about how it is I'm actually moving and thinking in terms of energy coming through me from the ground and out, then it's a completely different process. And we'd like that to come to everything that we do, so we don't do anything carelessly. And so that's automatic pilot, just trying to learn to switch off the automatic pilot. And then there's a real sense that everything that you do, you're practicing. And then just putting the heels down, but so gently. Almost like there's an insect under my heels and I don't want to squash them. You've still got this going on. So the rising energy is like the animal, and the sinking energy is like the tree. And one's changing into the other all the time.